lot of narratives that are uncovering as I'm uncovering why I'm still holding on to clothes, and I think this is like a good exercise for anyone to do. So clothes and I have a pretty long relationship. I love fashion. I grew up loving fashion. In Indonesia, where women are expected to always look presentable when they leave the house, I come from a culture in Jakarta where young girls, I think, value shopping and fashion as one of, like, I don't know, maybe the top 5 things that they do with their spare time and to, I guess, entertain themselves with. I grew up around a lot of malls, and when I was younger and I wasn't able to afford the malls, we were in factory outlets and all of these sort of like huge warehouses where you could buy really, really cheap clothing. So I really grew up around it, and I would sit like in front of the TV back when we first had Disney Channel, and I was like enraptured by everything that all of the girls were wearing on those shows. I would literally sit in front of Wizards of Waverly Place. We would buy pirated DVDs for a whole season. I'd watch the whole season through in one sitting, and I would sit there with a notebook and a pen, and I would just write down every outfit combination that Alex Russo wore, and then I would go to like the local cheap clothing store or market and try to find like dupes for those things. So I've really grown up with fashion even before Pinterest existed. And even now, even though I'm well into my adulthood and I am well into my self-improvement journey and going through therapy and learning how to reinvent myself and relearning healthier narratives, I'm noticing how my clothes are just a growing pile of stress in my life. This is the pile of clothes I have after I've done a huge, chopping off. I've done a huge massacre to my clothing, and I literally got rid of things that already had holes in them that I just hadn't ever really gotten around to fixing, and I knew I probably wasn't going to because I just didn't want to. I had stuff from middle school that had been in my closet for literally maybe over a decade, and I've grown now. My body is also changing. I'm gaining weight in a way that I didn't used to when I was a teenager, and it's just kind of beyond me how I've made promises to clothing. Like, sometimes I'll see something that I really like, but maybe I feel like doesn't flatter me in that moment, and I'll just hold on to it. I don't understand why I'm allowing objects that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things to fill in my promises and the time slots that I have in the future. Like, I've literally reserved hypothetical time slots in the future for clothing that I have never touched and will therefore probably never touch in the future. It's just wild, you know. I don't know. I need it gone, and I can't keep seeing piles of clothing on my floor, on my chair, on my, I don't know. I think it's a sign when your closet is overflowing and when your closet is as big as mine. And by no means am I a minimalist of any kind, but I'd like to minimalize the weight that objects have in my life, and I think clothing is a good place to start because it's so integrated in my identity. So I think the order of business will be doing what Lena Norms did, who is such a huge inspiration to me, and her video is actually what prompted me to think about my relationship with clothes in the first place, at least to a more minimalist extent. And what she did was she has 5 versions of a article of clothing. So like she has 5 cardigans, 5 sweaters, 5 t-shirts, and the rest goes in a donating pile. But for me, because I have a lot of clothes that are still really, really good, and I'm also still saving money, I want to separate a pile that will be clothing that I could sell for a much cheaper price than when I bought it. Let's do trousers. Oh my god, I have more clothes. Give me a second. Just by giving myself the harsh limit of 5 things per type of clothing is already making it super easy to know what immediately sparks joy and what doesn't, and also to be honest with myself of what I reach for, have reached for in the last 6 months and what I haven't. The thing with clothes is that I dress in such a way that allows me to explore different parts of myself. I really dress according to my mood. I dress according to a sort of like character that I want to play that day. And you know, that is probably attributed to a larger issue of just not being able to choose an aesthetic and identify with that and then have like a sort of uniform closet. But I don't think that that's important. I don't find the need to be boring with my clothing just because I'm now an adult, but I do find the need to be honest with myself about the things that I actually need and want versus the things that I just keep around because it's some sort of comfort for an insecurity that I have. And owning so many options of virtually the same thing is kind of filling up that space of like, well, what if one day I need to go here, and what if I need to look like this? It has a lot to do with what other people deem appropriate for a certain event or a certain energy, or, you know, you being or putting yourself in a certain light. And it has everything to do with people's opinions and less about what I actually really like to wear when I think about it in that terms of keeping it just for the sake of maybe having to go somewhere where I will need it. I think growing up in Jakarta has really made it difficult for me to separate myself from what other people think about me. But that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to unlearn right now, and trying to relearn, which is like the fact that it's none of my business what other people think of me, and it's not my job to project whatever I think people want to see, and it's not my job to be anybody's dream girl in any way. And I think that clothing, especially for girls in the cisgender heteronormative setting, is used as a weapon in capitalism for that, for us to assimilate and for us to adhere to a certain standard of beauty and for us to just like keep buying things. And it's driving me sort of wild because I grew up with this, so I can't say that I didn't learn my love for fashion, but my god, do I love it. I love playing all these roles. I love reinventing myself with the way I look. It's just such an obvious way to show people who you are and the substance that you have inside of yourself. But it's like, when I think about how much money I've spent in my life on clothing, and then I think about what other people who haven't been conditioned to love fashion have done with that amount of money and what I could do instead with that money, it's driving me kind of wild. I don't need it. I don't know. Maybe I am becoming a minimalist. I'm just gonna become more and more unbearable for people to watch. Thinner tops. I really, really love this one because I got it in Thailand. I was at the subway station, at the MTR station, and I literally saw it from across the station, this exact color and this exact sort of like model, and I was like, I love it, I want it, and I got it right away, and it was love at first sight, and it's just the perfect shade of green. This is one of my favorite shades of green, and it just fit me perfectly. I didn't even have to try it on. I just knew that I was gonna love it, and I keep wearing it when I want something comfortable, and that makes me feel good. I also have another green top that makes me feel really good, and I think I also got it in Thailand, and it's a wrap thing. And now that I'm looking at this, I know I have another wrap top from Monkey, which is like, to me, an expensive brand. It's still a splurge when I shop there, but I know that I have one like that already. And even though I love a good orange, it's not me anymore. This was me maybe 2 years ago, and it was a fun time. And I love the person that I think about when I see it, but I just realistically don't wear it as often because I don't feel like I identify with that me anymore. This is a cardigan that it's actually from the kids section from a thrift store. I thought it was so Y2K and, I don't know, a little bit edgier but still proper, and even though it's from the kids section, now I'm looking at it, it's actually from the Oy Lily brand, which is like a pretty nice Dutch brand. but I can't kid myself, I just didn't fit in this, and I don't think I ever will. My upper body is not gonna get any smaller, so yeah, sadly it can leave. This was another one of those aspirational pieces. I wore the hell out of it, and I bought it because I thought wearing neutrals makes me seem more adult, but in reality it just makes me seem more boring. And every time now when I think of a neutral piece to go along with other stuff I own, I think about like a cool graphic t-shirt instead of a boring ribbed top that's almost the shade of my exact skin tone, and it's just, it's well loved and it's fast fashion, but it's an aspirational piece of clothing that I just don't aspire to anymore. And I think that's maybe where my problems are stemming from, the fact that I'm looking at it as an aspirational piece. Something where it's like, if I buy this and I wear it, then I will become the right sort of person. And the thing is, it's like, I never do, because I'm actually pretty comfortable with who I am now, and it's like, of course I grow, but my taste isn't going anywhere. Like, I never really wore beige as like a neutral piece. I don't wear all beige suits, and I don't think I ever will. It's just not, it's not who I am. This is who I am. This vinyl skirt. I also bought this in Thailand recently. Unfortunately, it's a little tight, but I can still make do. And it just brings me so much joy that even though I will be pulling at it nonstop when I do wear it, it's wonderful. I love it. I wore it last on Halloween, and I think I need to have a day out where I wear it just out in the town. Okay, I'm already seeing that I have two striped tops. This one was also a well-loved piece. I don't remember where I got it from. It says Heather, maybe Hong Kong. But I really, really love it. And the color combo just gives me so much joy whenever I see it. The only thing about a lot of the turtleneck tops that I have is that it's not always flattering. Like, I think I have a very small neck. So sometimes, like, turtlenecks, if they're not sort of skin tight, they'll look loose on me and then look a little sloppy instead of put together the way I feel like a turtleneck should feel. And it's just that awkward length where you can't really tuck it into anything without, like, when you lift your arms, it'll always sort of snag out. And yeah, I don't feel sad parting with it because I've loved it so much, and I remember in my first and second year of uni I was like wearing it almost every week, but it's still bringing me joy by looking at it now. I just don't know if it's me necessarily. There's something about it that's a little too masculine almost, so I think I'm gonna have to get rid of her. Oh man. It's kind of like giving me anxiety to look at this growing pile of things that I want to let go because they're perfectly good clothes, and I know that that's an excuse that I've learned through my parents. I've grown up in a family that really maximized their objects and their material things, and my dad especially loves his objects that he buys. He buys a lot of things and he takes care of those things, and for him it's like, if it's still perfectly good and it has a perfectly good use, don't throw it away. And I think that's like a mentality that is a bit older now and a little bit more outdated. It's like, if you're not careful, you're just going to have a mountain of things by the end of your life. And one of my biggest fears is being like a grandmother who lives in a nice little cottage that's like my dream home, but it's filled with a bunch of junk that I don't care about. I love objects that give me joy and value, but like, do I want to hold on to this by the time I'm 40? No. And I'm not wearing it now, so why? You know, why are we holding on to it? If somebody else can make good use out of it, or if I can sell it for a small amount of money, why wouldn't I? So I'm gonna keep this one, because this is the nicer version. This one's from Esprit, I think. Yeah. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these like ribbed tops, and my fifth one is going to be this monkey cardigan, just because it's still new. and I haven't loved it enough yet. Even though I got it recently and my sweet mom thought of me when she got it because I had been asking for something like this, now when I'm looking at it, I know it's not me, and I know I bought it because I watched a bunch of girls on YouTube wear, again, neutral articles of clothing, and I thought it made them look so professional and adult and like they had their lives together. But when I look at this, I don't feel like I would have my life together. When I look at this, I feel like it's a lazy outfit because I didn't know what else to wear other than a white cardigan, which doesn't say anything about the people wearing it. It says something about my style and how I'm not buying to adhere to that. Okay, speaking of bad turtlenecks, I freaking love the look of this one. It's from Bershka. And it's like the super duper warm turtleneck. It's got a 3/4 sleeve, which is awesome. It's got like this cut off detail that's not too put together. But it has another one of those turtlenecks that just don't fit right. And the awkward length that always snags on my belt, even when I have tight pants. And it's just, I want to be the person that wears this, and I can think of like the horse girl outfits that could go with this, but it's a fantasy that I've internalized from watching white middle class people look more affluent than what I was as a young kid. And that's not what I want to be anymore. That's not what I want to be anymore. I think my younger self would be happy to fulfill that role, but I'm not my inner child, you know? So I need to let go of the things that speak to her and honor myself now, the present me, and hopefully get closer to my higher self, I think. Okay, maybe get into t-shirts. This is a Led Zeppelin shirt that I thrifted recently. I love it. I haven't worn it out yet. I'm so excited to. It's just such a sick poster. I love the font. I love everything about it. Oh, this is another trouser. I don't know. I have to be honest, I'm only hanging on to this because there is one specific outfit that I know looks really nice when these pants are a part of it. But it's like, what are the odds that I'm going to be wearing that outfit over and over again? And it's also just not the weather for it. It's not the weather to be wearing the outfit that I'm thinking of. And it's not a purple or light blue that I enjoy. It's like a periwinkle shade that's a bit too in between. It's definitely cool toned, and I can't think of, I don't know. And there's also stains on it. I think I'm ready to let go of it. Why am I saving one article of clothing for one specific outfit that I think will look good? This skirt is a gorgeous knockoff of a Brandy Melville skirt, and this was bought or thrifted. It was actually thrifted in the height of my sister's, what do you call it, A-line Brandy Melville craze. But it doesn't sit right with me. It's not tailored to my body, and it's always riding up. I always feel like I'm gonna flash my underwear. That's not a good feeling, and nobody needs that. Although my sister got it for me, and it brings me so much sentimental value, because every time my sister gets me something, it's like a huge thing, or when my mother, or when my dad, when my brother, but it's just like, no. It's not flattering, it doesn't bring me joy, and it's a reminder of, again, looking up to white women, white skinny women, that I don't want to look like anymore. Whoa, who knew we were gonna go into this post-colonial rant, as we always do. This is another concert t-shirt. It's a Shawn Mendes shirt, and I remember seeing it. They had like a huge like wall of merch just for people to see, and I saw this and I thought, oh, I'm not cool enough for it. I'm not cool enough. And then I was there with a friend, and she was like, what do you mean? Like, it's a really good shirt, and it would look so good on you. Why wouldn't you get it? And you like it. But I was like, yeah, but it's just too edgy, and like, it's, you know, it's more rocker. It's got this like acid wash thing to it, and it has like like that indie grungy vibe that I was like, yeah, it's not really me. And then she's like, but it's bringing you joy, so why wouldn't you buy it? And then I got it, and then I wore it like all the time, everywhere, all the time. Literally, if I were to choose one shirt to bring with me for a long time, I think this will hold up, because every time I wear it, it makes me feel so good. And it doesn't adhere to any of the like aspirational personalities I think about when I buy clothes, like being the, I don't know, affluent upper middle class or edgy artsy person, or like Instagram influencer person. This doesn't fit into any of like my usual categories, but every time I wear it, it just feels good. And it's a really nice material too, and I paid good money. So that's coming with me. So that's 4 already. Holy crap, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I love a lot of musicians, and I have a lot of musician shirts as a result of that. This was a gift from my dad, and it's a Billie Holiday top, and it's just, I think I want to be the kind of person that wears this on the regular, but I'm not. And I need to stop kidding myself. It's hard because when people gift me things, I never want to part with it, because I want to show that I really, really appreciate it. But I do, and I've worn this so much that it's just like, what? I think it has served its purpose, and I think that somebody else can garner way more joy from it than I do. Oh, this was the other, no, this is a dress. I don't even know what half of these things are anymore. This is a dress that I bought for a birthday party in Jakarta back when I was literally in high school. So it's been years. I feel very good in it, but it's so thin that I can only wear it in the summer, and then when summer comes around, I never actually wear it. So I'm gonna keep it in the pile of things that I'll have to look through again, but I don't think it's gonna survive for very long. I think if I still lived in Jakarta, I would keep it, but there's just such a small window now of being able to wear something like this that I don't know. We'll see. Okay, handheld vlog update. That's the pile of clothes that I don't know what to do with yet. My skirts, my tank tops, workout pants, jeans and khakis, t-shirts, ribbed long sleeves, trousers, and that, my friends, is the horrendous pile of things that I would like to do away with, and those are my pajamas. For my wardrobe, I have my sweaters up there that I need to tackle next, and 2 more lovely doors of things. I've got a whole hung up area that I've recently cleared out, and that brings me a lot of joy every time I open up my closet, but I know can give me even more joy by not giving me the weight, the crushing weight of all of my objects staring at me. And over there I have literally 4 piles of more clothes that I need to give away, and I've decluttered a while ago, and guess what, more clothes to declutter. So my whole room is just clothing. I'm always in clothing, and this is why I need to get rid of all of it. Okay, before we go any further, I think it's important to put away all the things I know I don't want. While we do this, let's visit why I think I've taken so long to do this and why I'm doing this with a lot of guilt. It's funny because I think people who are generally woke and are of like middle class stature have guilt from holding on to frivolous objects such as clothing. It's definitely not high up on the list of things that you need to survive, at least this many clothing. But I have the opposite reaction where I have guilt of letting go of perfectly good things, because I think I grew up in basically I didn't grow up middle class or upper middle class at all. I grew up, I would say, middle class to lower middle class, and even that is very, very, very privileged in terms of, in comparison to other Indonesians where I grew up, you know. In comparison to the Netherlands, a developed country, because they've profited off of colonialism. I remember growing up and going to schools that, like, the family weren't necessarily able to afford, and I felt like I was around people who were wearing things I or my family wouldn't have been able to afford. And now I feel like I'm kind of on the other end of that, because I've figured out thrifting that works for me. I have a skinny body, so a lot of things fit with me. I think I've developed taste that allows me to dress much more affluent presenting than I actually am. Those are all sort of like little bits and pieces of why I think I find guilt in letting go of these things, because my younger self would have loved to have this many clothing that made me happy, to have so many articles of clothing that brought me joy. Would have been a blessing as a kid, because I just could never wait to go shopping, and like for my family to save up enough money to let me go shopping. And you know, as a kid especially, like I was always really interested in clothing, and if not clothing for me, then clothing for my Barbie dolls. I wanted nothing more than to like look grown up and to look cool and all those things that I guess a young girl is taught to want. And it's just it's actually hard to admit, but it's not something that I want anymore. I think I really respect my younger self, and I honor her wishes and wants and dreams, and I understand why she came to those dreams in the first place. I think I could really learn from not having a lot of things all the time, you know, even if it's just for like a couple of years. I would love to live minimally, or as minimally as possible with my personality. It's also just kind of sad because I'm looking at all these clothes and I'm like, I don't know, I'm just seeing how they were all sort of like whispers of my past dreams and wants for myself, and they were never just fully realized because I never fixed what was happening inside. You know, like I bought things like this because I thought it would make me more confident and edgy, but I wasn't doing the real like inside work that I needed to do in order to build my self-worth enough to know that I am edgy without it. You know, I wasn't doing therapy, I wasn't doing shadow work, I was using material objects to bandage little things that were wrong in my mindset and in my personality, you know? The fact that I didn't see myself as cool without the clothing that I needed to buy is a problem that I needed to fix by looking inward instead of looking outward and then buying things to fix that with. Of the getting rid of things side, I don't, you know, I did like clear outs of clothes whenever things just got too ratty or too small for me to wear anymore, or my parents would be like, okay, now is the time to look through your old clothes and see what we can give to people. And I just remember like my parents keeping boxes of clothes just in case somebody else would need them, and we've been also, I guess, privileged enough to be surrounded by people who were less privileged than us, and we were able to help people by giving them the things that we've saved over time from like my childhood clothes, childhood toys and stuff like that. But being realistic, I can do that help now by donating the clothes. I don't need to wait around for someone who's less privileged to come into my life and ask me for clothes, or for me to feel like they might need some of my old clothes. I don't need boxes of things sitting around so that I can give it to a hypothetical person that might come into my life one day. And that's just trying to make myself feel better about the things that I bought, because maybe one day someone who's less privileged, it's all just like really horrible middle class mindsets of owning things and hoarding things, not just owning it, because I've clutched onto them for dear life. And even though I don't feel that way in the moment, I wasn't actively hoarding things, my subconscious was. And the fact that it's difficult to let go of so much and to not feel guilt while I do it, is proof enough. So that's my little rant. I also bought stuff like this. Tube tops. Because I used to live in Jakarta, and when people go out, especially skinny girls, skin queens, skinny legends, they would wear tube tops. First of all, I've never found it comfortable enough where it just always sits and I don't have to ever pull it up the whole night or day through. Second of all, I've bought both of these since I've moved to the Netherlands. There's maybe 2 weeks of summer where I could wear a tube top without a jacket. With a jacket, actually. Without a jacket, maybe there's like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days in the whole year where I could just wear this freely out and not feel too chilly and to have my nipples pointing at everybody. So, like, you know what I mean? This is like a clear reflection of the fact that I'm stuck in the past mentally, and in terms of like my mindset towards fashion. The fact that I bought Jakarta influenced clothing since I've moved to the Netherlands, and like not in the first year either. These were like well into my second and third years of being in the Netherlands. With what expectation? Like, I knew summer wasn't gonna cut it for these very minimal amounts of clothing. Did I think I was gonna bring it back to Jakarta and then wear it then? And it's also like, I never wear anything too revealing in Jakarta because I feel disrespectful because of the conservative culture there. So what was going through my mind? Why do I have 2 of them? And they're from different brands too, so I bought them on 2 separate occasions thinking, yeah, this will be useful, helpful, and fashionable and appropriate for where I'm living and what I'm doing in my daily life. Just, what is happening in my head? So as you can tell from the lighting, it is much later in the day now, and lordy lord, do I have the thing for you. We have 5 bags, and I think it's only just gonna grow because all the things that I still wanna sell are outside of these bags. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 bags of clothing. I'm just like amazed that we're here now and I feel so much lighter, and the fact that I still have piles of clothes I want to sell is restricting me even more, because now I'm like, oh, it's actually so easy to let go of things and to really tackle why I haven't done that before and why I found it so scary at first. And now I'm kind of just like, whoo, gotta get rid of everything. I gotta go full minimalist. I gotta like never buy. And now I'm thinking about things like a no buy challenge, because Christmas and New Year's time was a bit too intense with all the things that I recently got, and then I went on like a huge book craze as a way of coping with the pandemic. So now I have like just stacks of books, stacks of stuff that I don't need and I can get rid of. And also, because shops are on lockdown, I'm kind of like, well, maybe I just shouldn't be buying anything anyway, because anything that I wanted I had already gotten for Christmas. And so if I don't have it, then I probably didn't want it bad enough to ask for it from my family. So that's where I'm at right now. I'll update you on that no buy thing, but I think I'm gonna do it because this is just too good to pass up. Okay, that was a lot of stuff. That was a lot of talking, and I'm gonna give away all the clothes, but thank you for hanging out with me and tackling my capitalist, middle-class, existential rants. I really appreciate your company. if you like this video and if you want to continue to support my channel, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. If you guys have, let's not have gendered language in this video too. If you have any opinions, thoughts, wishes that you'd like to share regarding letting go of the objects that we have in our lives, please share them. I would love to read about them. And with that being said, I hope you have a great day wherever you are. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.